I am Nick Shell, and this is actually me. This is no character that I'm playing. See, those stupid hair loss videos, they mean nothing to me. I don't care at all about that topic. But I know that most of my ad revenue comes in from those silly videos, so I have to make the majority of my videos that. But that's why I have to do all that silly stuff. But that means nothing to me. You're watching a video where I'm talking about something I actually care about. I'm actually passionate about that. And that is me losing my dad bod by the time I turn 40. 6 months from now, I'll be turning 40. And so I've been making these videos to learn from my viewers how to better reach my goals. I have been going to the gym since February of this year, 6 days a week, an hour a day. And more so recently, I'm now walking 2 miles every day after I go to the gym. So it's like 90 minutes a day. And plus, I have been really open-minded to as far as diet goes. First, I was just getting as much protein as I possibly could. Then I went vegan, then pescatarian. Now I'm back to just remaining kosher, no pork, no shellfish. But ultimately, my goal right now, and I've been pretty good at it this week, between 100 and 130 grams of complex protein and remaining under 2,000 calories in addition to my workout. So I want to read a couple comments that came in from the last video I posted earlier this week, which was called Weight Training, Fat Loss, Aiming for 100 grams of complex protein under 2,000 calories a day. So I want to start with a comment from Brian Waterman. Here's what he said. Quote, have you tried intermittent fasting? An approachable version of it is basically just skipping breakfast and having the first meal 16 hours after your last meal the night before, the so-called 16-8 style. After a couple of weeks, it's easy, and you'll actually likely struggle to get 2,000 calories in the rest of the day. Then you are compressing the eating window. Seems like it could be a good fit for you, end quote. So yeah, absolutely. I have been doing that, but now that I'm focusing on at least 100 grams of protein and under 2,000 calories, now I've already, this week alone, really kind of sharpened that up and been keeping up with it. So I write down everything I eat, what time, how many calories, and how much protein. And what's funny is I've run into a new thing, which when I wake up 5:30, I just drink water. 6 a.m. black coffee. Go to the gym. All I do is drink water until 11 a.m. I drink more black coffee. Suppresses my appetite for about another hour or so or more. And usually now I'm not eating anything. I'm not consuming any calories till 12:30, 1 o'clock. And then I need to start focusing on how am I going to fit in at least 100 grams of protein in the next 6 hours. So from roughly noon and then 7 p.m. So it's a 6-hour window ultimately that I'm working with. And I have the idea of compressing the calories and the protein, like it's working for me. As far as just aiming for 20 to 30 calories every hour in to some capacity in those 6 hours or so. So I've had much success with that. I'm not the kind of person who can really eat before noon anyway, and I don't like to. I'm not really hungry. It doesn't matter to me. If I have coffee and water, I'm happy and I'm fine. And I will say that earlier this week, I did try to experiment a little bit. I thought, well, what happens if I have one of my protein smoothies before my workout or right after it? And what happened is I was still hungry by the end of the day, because once I opened that door for consuming calories, it's too late. So I just opened the door later, which I'm wired to not need food until at least noon. And I think I've always been that way. If anything, I felt forced that I had to eat food, so I would, but no, this is actually what works best for me. So yeah, intermittent fasting. I'm glad I didn't do it for 3 days this week, only to confirm that I'm one of those intermittent fasting guys who just doesn't want to eat until at least noon. Another comment that I had obtained, 55 Porter had this to say, quote, you're definitely looking leaner, but I don't think 2,000 calories is sustainable. You'll put on some pork back on the frame since the calories inevitably come back up. Probably better off keeping the calories between 2,200 and 2,500 and doing more cardio. Either way, at least you're now eating some real protein, end quote. So, and hey, I respect that comment for sure. I'd say for me though, personally, the way I'm wired, if I burn more calories, I'm going to end up consuming more calories. So while I definitely do cardio and weight training, for me specifically, I just want to be very clear. My long-term goal is not to always consume under 2,000 calories a day. That's not my long-term goal. That's my short-term goal, to get rid of the fat in my stomach. I've got some fat in here. I'm currently at 165 pounds. I was 178. And I guess ultimately it doesn't matter how much I weigh. I was gonna say 155 pounds because that was the last time I fit into my size, like 32 pants, and was down to closer to the body fat that I wanted to be like 6 years ago. But ultimately, now that I'm building muscle, I realize that my weight is largely irrelevant, that it really comes down to the percentage of body fat. But I know that there's fat here in my stomach, and I know there's like fat here that is going to be decreasing. And it's interesting, the last thing I'm gonna say, I think I've stumbled into a situation where I'm doing what's called, I believe, carb backloading. So just for example, this is my routine. After the coffee and black water until at least noon, then I have 3 eggs and a little bit of coconut oil, which is about 300 calories total and only 18 grams of protein. But it's protein that really helps get absorbed by the muscles, more so than, like, basically eggs and whey protein are the best for actually helping your muscles build. You can have 18 grams of eggs, or you can have 30 grams of beef. The eggs is going to actually do more. So not all complex protein grams of protein are created equal, in other words, and I'm aware of that. So I started with the eggs, and I learned that from Dr. Berg. He has his own YouTube channel. You want to check that out. Start with the eggs, and then about an hour later, I do my cottage cheese, a cup of that. That's 26 grams of protein. Then I fit in fish. So usually cod, but today I'm going to try to see if I can get away with tuna. I have a rash that used to break out when I had tuna, so we'll see if I still have that. So then I also will have a turkey sandwich, which is like 18 grams of protein on 1 slice of Ezekiel bread cut in half. So it's only 200 calories with just mustard and some jalapenos. And then we work our way into dinner where there's a salad and whatever my wife makes, which is vegetarian, but that's how I get in my carbs. I know that carbs are important, so I need to have some whole grain carbs. Sometimes I'll have a little bit of avocado with my egg or with dinner. And if I can afford it, I'll have some oatmeal that has specifically some walnuts in it, which are high in calories, but supposedly, based on the reports I've read, those calories don't quite translate as literal as they seem because they're processed a different way. And then I close the day by having my whey protein, which is going to be about 26 grams of protein. Because I know that you can't really process much more than about 30 in one sitting. So whereas my wife's making a vegetarian meal that has no complex protein, kind of almost like for dessert, I have my whey protein smoothie. So it ends up consistently being at least 100 to about 130 grams, which that is actually what is recommended anyway. Now granted, if you want to get huge, you're going to have to be matching your body weight. So I'd have to do 165 grams of complex protein instead of just 100, 130. So, but ultimately, what I've just described is carb backloading. I'm not having my carbs until the very end of the day. I'm not even eating carbs really until 4 or 5 o'clock in the day. Other than that, it's just protein, 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 and then carbs at the end of the day. So the concept is, I'm awake for 6 hours before I even consume calories. So it's making my body, in essence, run off of my fat reserve. And then when I finally do start eating, it's just pure protein. There's no carbs there really for the energy. So again, having to burn more fat. So that's the concept. That wasn't even on purpose. That's just how it happened to be for me. Just because I wanted to make sure, if I've got a 6-hour window basically to eat at least 100 grams of protein, I need to start out pretty heavy with the protein. And by the end of the day, we'll see how much left I've got for carbs, like oatmeal, having oatmeal with a half of a banana in it, and those walnuts that I mentioned. So it's just kind of stumbled into that situation. I didn't plan that. But for me, it works. And when you look up carb backloading, I'm the kind of person who it says it's a good fit for. Either people who work out late in the day, which is not me, or people who don't eat the first part of the day, which is me. So I think this is a good plan. But hey, I'm definitely open to what you have to say. I want to do this right. I'm not here to teach anybody anything. I actually just want to learn, and I appreciate the comments because they really do help and I'm truly paying attention. Thanks for your help right here.